Hey there, Christy with Automation on a Mission with your latest installment of our weekly Business Booster trainings. And today's training, we are talking about website do's and don'ts. Now, keeping in mind that these are only 30-minute trainings, I do just want to give you that sort of preface that this is not an all-inclusive review of all the things that you need to keep in mind. And hopefully that's also refreshing, because my goal here is to really help think from a high level and sales and marketing perspective on some things to keep in mind when it comes to designing web pages. And that when I say that, I mean your website, it could be a lead magnet, it could be a sales page. All these rules apply for all of them. So whether that you are going back to the drawing board to build a brand new page, build an entire site, whether you're looking at building individual lead magnet pages, or you're trying to, give a refresh to your existing site, or maybe even audit the site that you have up and running. Use these as sort of some principles when it comes to designing your next version of your web pages. All right. So without further ado, let me share my screen. And I just want to sort of point out that it is not uncommon for people to build beautiful sites and have them be completely useless. And the thing, especially because the majority of our clients are ladies, we want beautiful, pretty things. And beautiful, pretty things when it comes to a website or a landing page that doesn't do its job is still essentially useless. So making your site aesthetically appealing is obviously super important, and also making it serve its intended purpose, also important, and probably more so than making it just pretty. Okay, so with that being said, do the beautiful graphics, do the fancy words that inspire someone. Yes, that's important, and we're going to talk more about words here in a minute. But I want you to also be thinking about who is the page for, and what is its intended goal, and does the content on the page fill those roles or fill those shoes. All right. And so here's a perfect example of a do and a don't. It is not uncommon to go to somebody's website and look at all of this copy talking about how amazing they are and how qualified they are to do the job, but fail to actually speak to their ideal client. So when all you do is talk to your person, ideally, about you, they don't see themselves in the message. So it's common for us to think about our website as almost like a resume, and that's not its job. The job of your website is to answer the essential questions that your ideal buyer has before they got to the website. You need to answer those questions, and you need to answer them quickly and efficiently. So when you're thinking about what you say on your website, you need to think about who that ideal client is and talk to them. They don't honestly care about you at this point in the game. They don't know you. They don't have any relationship with you. So what matters the most to them is understanding who you are, what you do, and how they can work with you consistently. And you will hear that from me over and over and over again. And let me just go a step further. We're going to talk about this when we use some examples up that you see in my little tabs, that you have about 7 seconds to answer those questions. And if you can't answer those questions in those first 7 seconds, then all of the other effort that you put into your site is essentially null and void. So create copy from the mindset of your ideal client. So one of the things that I like to tell people first and foremost is when your ideal buyer, when your ideal client hits your website, the only thing they care about is what's in it for them. So if you can answer the question from their perspective, what's in it for me, then you're on the right track. All right. So it's not about you, it's about them. It's about you talking about their pain points. It's about you talking about what transformation can look like when they work with you. But the key part of that is transformation is a before and after of their story, not yours. All right. Do use your homepage to share who you are and what you do. We already just talked about that. Don't put all of your web content on your homepage only to repeat it later. This is another common thing, and I want to say that I'm seeing it less often, but it really depends on, honestly, the industry. So, for example, if you have a blog page, you don't need to put all of your blog content on your homepage. If you're going to talk about yourself on your about page, you don't really need to go into large in-depth detail about all the same things you're going to repeat on the about page and just restyle it. Maybe give a little snippet about yourself and invite them to read more on your about page. But don't use all of the stuff that you're going to put on all of your supporting pages on your home page and make your homepage really long and scroll, and they need to scroll for miles and miles and miles, and then essentially repeat that same stuff, maybe identical, maybe sometimes just rewording it. Use that homepage specifically to serve the function of explaining who you are, what you do, and how they can work with you. Talk about the challenges that your ideal customer faces. What are the consequences of them not taking an action? And what does it look like on the other side of that transformation? After that, hey, it's easy to get started with me. Here are the steps. Step 1, make your purchase. Step 2, get your email and book a call. Step 3, fill out your intake form, etc., etc., etc. Making that stuff available on your homepage allows them to understand what that process looks like, what they can expect in working with you. And if they want to keep reading further, they can go and look at your about page or your services page and understand more specifically about what that kind of program looks like. Keep the focus of each web page streamlined and clear. And don't overwhelm your visitor with too much information and competing call to actions. So it's very common that, especially amongst women, that we like to use colorful language. We like to make up some sort of fun, clever word that's an alternative to a testimonial. We like to use a bunch of fancy, beautiful scripts that are difficult to read, not ADA friendly. And then ultimately having lots of different buttons that take them to different places. And whether you're talking about a sales page, an opt-in page, your website pages, and even emails, when you ask people to do multiple things at once, chances are they're going to get overwhelmed and confused. And what does the confused mind do? Shut down. We give up, we say, we're not doing it, I'll do it later, you know what I mean? So imagine your competitor is very clear and concise, and you are full of bright, shiny objects. Now, you know what it's like as a real live human being to struggle with bright, shiny object syndrome, and now you're creating it for someone else. Don't do that. The focus of your page is to sell your services. So let's sell your services. That could be you book a strategy call because maybe you gate those behind those things, or you get them straight to the place where they can purchase low dollar amount items, things like that. All right. Utilize a system for font sizes and colors versus go crazy with too many fonts, different sizes and colors. And I kind of just hinted at that. One of the things that has become really popular, especially in the last, I would say probably 2 to 4 years, is these beautiful scripts. And don't get me wrong, I love them. I love the beautiful scripts because they're feminine and they're elegant and they're beautiful and all of that. And also, it is difficult to read if you have, if you're an impaired vision user. And then also, what does that look like on a mobile device? When you really squish it down, and I can't believe I'm even saying this as a steadfast, smack in the middle Gen Xer, I can read cursive, but if you're serving a Gen Z, that may be something that doesn't translate well for them. So something to be mindful of is making sure that the fonts that you're using are easy to read, easy to skim. We don't read anymore, we skim. And that the sizes are legible. So from that ADA perspective and accessible to everyone, 16 is the smallest your web page font should ever go. And then you can only go up from there. When you have lots of different fonts, it appears like your brand doesn't have a lot of clarity, and therefore you don't have a lot of clarity. So get clear on what those font conventions are. Like, these are the fonts I use, or font I use for my header. Maybe this is a separate font I use for my subheader, and then this font over here is the font I use for online content. And then use that same convention or same set of rules every time you create a new piece of content. Header, subheader, content fonts, consistent across the board. I even go so far as my hero section, where my header 1 is always the same size, my header 2, my header 3, always the same size. And then I create rules around when I apply a header 2 versus a header 3. So that way it's clear. And again, believe it or not, whether you're aware as a user, viewing other people's content, our minds, they want that structure, they want that ease. And the more you make people work, the more tired they become. The more tired they are, the less likely they are to take the action that you want them to take. Next, create a simple to read and follow design. So one of the things that we've definitely moved away from is text heavy content. So you'll see more and more often on people's websites, little snippets of information versus a giant paragraph. And the reason being that in this day of instant gratification, nobody wants to read. And they're not going to. So you can spend all this time writing this beautiful and amazing novella about how you created your business and what inspired it. And it was this moment of creativity at 3 a.m. and yada, yada, yada. But the reality is nobody's reading. But if you were to take that same information and put it into a couple of columns with simple, easy to read, like, 5, 6, 10 words kind of thing, that's skimmable content. And then people can go and look specifically for what they're searching for and not have to get frustrated because they have to read so much stuff. Don't get bogged down by fancy words, bells, and whistles. Same thing is true for, we talked about that whole, like, a blog is a blog is a blog, a testimonial is a testimonial. And the more you ask people to interpret your navigation or your fancy words, the more you're likely to lose them and their interest in learning more about you. Be clear with exactly what it is that you're saying. Say what you mean and mean what you say, and you're less likely to have them interpret what you say differently or simply expend unnecessary energy that they don't have to. And one of my favorite stories that I learned actually studying this particular topic was around Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. Love him, hate him, whatever. But both of them are perfect examples of go and look for a series of pictures of them in their professional setting, and they are two people that wear the same thing every day. So the reason they do that is because they understood or understand that decision making is a calorie burn. It's a mental calorie burn. And the fewer places that they have to expend that calorie burn on unnecessary frivolous things, the more they're able to then save that cognitive energy for the things that matter the most. Designing the new iPhone, creating the next generation of Facebook that's a little less creepy, whatever those things might be. But the key is, and not everybody's going to be so careful about, I only wear the same exact jeans and the same black shirt every single day, and my closet is full of blue jeans and black shirts. It's trying to simplify the process. So when we have colorful language and fancy text and fancy words and fancy everything, we're asking other people to do the heavy lifting that they shouldn't have to do. And this is the one that I kind of talked about that I was saying optimize for diverse settings and users. And the reason I really wanted to include this is because chances are, that yes, we need to make sure that we create our content so that it's mobile friendly, and we should check on different browsers and check on different kinds of mobile devices. But the other side of that, again, is making sure that our content is accessible to everyone. And what that means is, again, being conscious and mindful of what your fonts, being conscious and mindful of the colors of your text, the colors of your graphics and your boxes. So can I make a fluorescent astronaut? Absolutely, probably not a big deal. If I made that neon pink and then I put white text in front of it, it strains the eye. It's hard for me to read it. And that's without any sort of visual challenges to overcome. So think about all of your possible users and making sure that your content is created and is displaying in such a way that anyone and everyone who comes and visits your page is able to view and consume that material. Other little things that you can be thinking about and mindful of are things like, do you put the alt text behind your graphics? And an easy place that people make a mistake is cloning a section or cloning an image and then failing to update that alt text if you even got that far in the first place. And so what the alt text means is there are people who are going to view your site, they have modifications on their browsers, so they're not downloading those images. It could be security, it could be a disability, and for one reason or another, they're not seeing the images. So your text needs to be a reasonable substitute. What is the picture? Autumn leaves falling on fall grass. Something along those lines helps them understand what that picture is, so they're able to get as close of an experience as possible. So when I think about optimizing for diverse users, and or the failure to do so, it's making sure that my SEO content, my alt text, my header, like all of those things are utilized and assigned in the appropriate fashion, so that if someone is not viewing the website the way I do, the way my eyes see it, they're still getting the benefit of the entire experience. So those are a couple of tips that I wanted to point out as it relates to our do's and don'ts for websites. And I wanted to show a couple of examples and just sort of, bring all of these things together. All right. So first, I'm going to actually start on my own site, and I'm going to give myself constructive feedback here on this recording as a perfect example. So number one, we have 7 seconds. That 7 seconds, all of that time is going to be spent on everything that shows up above the fold. And when I say above the fold, the olden days above the fold from a marketing perspective is if you fold the newspaper in half, anything that the reader can see without having to open or flip the page, that's above the fold. So in our world, it's anything that loads above the scroll. So when you look at your page, it needs to tell you who you are, what you do, and how they can work with you. And if you're not doing that above the fold, the likelihood of people aborting your website before they ever get anywhere and all of that other hard work and effort is completely gone. So when I look at my own site, it tells you, so the name of the business, Automation on a Mission. Now I could go so far as to add a subtitle here that says Sales and Marketing Automation for Entrepreneurs. That is what used to be underneath the Confluence Business Solutions logo because it's not super clear. But I do go so far as to explain automate, community, confidence, streamlining your business, automation tools. Those are the piece. This is what we do. So who are we? Automation on a Mission. What do we do? Automation tools in a supportive community designed to foster your growth. That's also essentially our mission. And then I say, join the mission. And this is where I talk about my constructive feedback. So my feedback for myself is maybe this button could be a little less cutesy with the join the mission. Maybe it doesn't tell people what happens when they push this button. I'm also going to choose to ignore my own advice because I really like what it says. But I want you to pay attention to what all the other buttons say. Now I do, because I had that feedback for myself when I created it, I have another button here that says work with us. And that work with us button does the exact same thing as the join the mission button. So before you start scrolling, you get to click one of 2 buttons that take you to the exact same place. And that's going to be down below. And I don't want to do that just yet because I want to talk about some of the other stuff that's on this page as well. Before we jump around, the other things that I want to say to call out above the fold is notice the simplicity of my navigation. Certainly, I can put testimonials up here. I can put my services page up here. I could say buy Automation on a Mission, but I have 2 buttons that are going to achieve the same thing. And the less information I have up here, the better. I'm not interested in you bopping around my services page or my about page. In fact, I don't even think I have a services page right now. It doesn't matter. What matters is the only thing I want in my navigation are going to be the things that help achieve my goals. And that is to help you know who I am, what I do, and how you can work with me. Anything else, it doesn't mean that I don't create those pages, and it doesn't mean that I don't make them accessible to any user. I'm just not going to put them in my primary navigation. One, a majority of people do not visit those pages. They go to the homepage. Number 2 is I want you to buy. And I'm not going to forget my goal of I want you to buy. All right. So next thing I do, there are plenty of people who need to get a little sample of who I am. So my lead magnet is going to be at the very top of my website. In the past, I have toyed with putting it at the bottom. It actually is no less effective for me at the bottom of my website than it is at the top. I would absolutely encourage you to experiment with that. Different businesses are going to have a different different success rate in terms of that. Most marketers will tell you that it's better suited towards the top of your website, even above the fold. Now, my lead magnet and why a lead magnet is important if it's not something that's a part of your everyday business is because, again, not everyone is going to be ready to purchase right off the bat, and they might want to kick the tires before they actually make a decision. And your lead magnet is their way to sample your work. Okay. And then I'm going to start talking to them. I'm not talking about myself. I haven't even introduced myself at this point. I'm talking specifically to the pains that they are experiencing. One of our clients said the other day, it's like, what is the bleed? Like, what's causing the bleeding and the pain that you're experiencing in your life right now? We need to talk about that. What are the things that you're dealing with? And oh my God, life should not be that way. That is unfair and it's wrong. It should be like this. Oh, look at that. I threw a little testimonial in there. But once we get past the, wouldn't it be great? Or this is what it's reasonable to expect these things. We talk a little bit about, I do introduce myself. I share our mission, but specifically, I'm really focusing on exactly what our solution is and how we are actually making a difference in the lives of our clients. Oh, look at that. Here's how this works. It's really easy. Do step 1, step 2, step 3. And step 3, you're launching and growing. That's amazing. Now, all of those buttons that you saw above, join the missions, are taking you here. Now, if you are a one and done, one-stop shop, you don't need all of this, but we've started to serve different clients. And so really our magic happens on the sales page. So our goal is to get you to the sales page. So if you click on one of our sales pages, for example, you're going to get that same experience over again. Who are we? What do we do? And how can I work with you? And I'm not super interested in you booking a call. I'm really interested in you making a purchase, but maybe you're not ready yet. So I'm going to give you an hour. But I'm not creating, if you want to call, book here. If you want to buy, purchase here. That is not really there. The calendar is tucked away at the very end. If you get to the vibe and you're just like, gosh, I don't really know about that. So let us know if you have any questions about that. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about what this looks like for a couple of other websites. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. That's not true. I did want to show you one other thing. So and let me pop off of this page because I don't think, we'll go back down to our footer. So our sales pages have a little bit of a disclaimer so people understand what they get, but the rest of all of our other web pages actually only have our earnings disclaimer and terms of and conditions, and then also another menu and our social media buttons. Social media buttons are not in the primary navigation because again, that's not really, I'm not interested in fans, I'm interested in customers. So I will put it here, I'll make it available. Please do follow us, engage with us. But my key interest is making sure that you know and understand what our products and services are and how you can work with us. But let's say, for example, I can get my act together and create my affiliate program. The link goes down here. Let's say I do have a page where I have a vault of free resources. It goes down here. Let's say when we launch all of our monetized courses, it goes down here. It does not go up into our primary navigation because I'm not trying to make millions of dollars off of a $47 course. I'm trying to make millions of dollars off of how we serve our mission, and that's with automation on a mission. So I keep my priority and my goal focused on that one thing. We're talking about automation on a mission. How does it serve our specific clients? So I have spent virtually no time on these other websites, but I did find there were a couple things that I really wanted to point out to you because they do exactly the things that we're talking about here. So number one, you have the opportunity to watch a video, but it is not playing automatically on the hero section here. They do have some video or graphics, but think about like as a wedding planner, the visuals of all those things are super important because that's exactly that. This is the mindset of the future bride, more than likely the bride or the future group, whomever is coming to this site, trying to decide whether or not you are the person who's going to help them make their dream day the most unforgettable and positive experience they've ever wanted and dreamed of. But you are coming to the site for the first time. You understand that this particular Dallas Oasis is a private 18-acre estate and venue. So you don't even need to go further than the logo to understand who they are, what they do. And then we can go here to schedule a tour or watch a video. And that's all above the fold. They do have a bit of a busy navigation, but it's not the end of the world. I think that the things are relevant to the work that they do. And when you consider the kind of business this is, where people battle their want their dream, want somebody to handle it stress-free, and also the cheapest option available, they've got to sort of navigate those things. Now, I want to point out something else that I have found to be super helpful and like just kind of nerdy geeky that I think other people have really been interested in as well. So researchers have studied how the brain and the mind works when it comes to hitting a web page. And when we think about how we view things, our mind or our eye goes from the top left-hand corner all the way across the screen to the top right-hand corner, to the bottom left-hand corner, to the bottom right-hand corner. So everything above the fold in that Z line is your most important real estate. So anything outside of that is the whipped cream and cherry on top, okay? So again, who we are and what we do and how we can work with us, and you didn't get past the first part of the Z. So they've accomplished something pretty miraculous here. And then if we keep scrolling, they're kind of repeating the navigation, but that's okay. Their navigation isn't sticky. And they're talking about things that are what matter the most to their ideal client. Look at that. It's easy. This is how you work with us. So let's take a look at this guy. Now I picked this one, I picked Wedding Planner on this one because this is one of our newest verticals. And so I'm absolutely loving making beautiful things for wedding planners. And what a great opportunity to sort of highlight, this is a company that's doing it really well. So in this one here, he is both a life coach and I can't remember what else he said on his SEO description. But again, I haven't spent a ton of time here, but things that I love. So his business name is himself, but look at that. Right there, life coaching for physicians. I didn't even have to remember. I could just come here and there it is. So here's my Z. So across from the top, who he is, how I can work with him and what he does before. And then again, here's that schedule a discovery call. What happens if we keep going down? Are we going to see different buttons? Now, I would say his website could certainly use a few other buttons, but the testimonials have relevance here. Here's a schedule discovery call. Were there any others that were using some CSS? No. Okay. So one of the things that I think is really important is, similar to me, he's got two different texts up here, but then every button thereafter is saying the same thing. So you're not like, okay, well, is this one going to go here and that one going to go there? They all do the same thing. Schedule a discovery call, schedule a discovery call. And then he is choosing to use two different resources, which is totally fine, but he gonna gate it. So you have to give him your name and email. Here's another, way to book that call. All right. And notice I'm not going off of the homepage on any one of these. The point that I'm trying to make here is this is your most important page. If you can nail this and your framework on your homepage, the other pages are easy. Here's another one, Happy Sleeper. And now I think I decided I didn't want to use that one. So let me skip over that one. I actually really loved this one because I'm a knot nerd. I love knots. I'm also really good at remembering them. You know, that whole, you don't use it, you lose it. For one reason or another, sorry about the dead deer. For one reason or another, knots are something I just always remember. But check out this little doodad that makes knots so much easier. So if you're that person who's like, maybe not, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, then maybe this is the answer for you. And also, you don't have to use any brain energy or brain power to figure out exactly what it is that he's selling. He's got a video playing in the background. It was immediately loaded when I first brought up the page. It does not have any audio, so it's not disruptive to me, or, heaven forbid, I'm working in a library and I pull up his page. Something that I think for some people could go either way is, here's his navigation. Now we're trained to know that that little hamburger is a navigation. What I really like about it is he is really strategic about the fact that he wants you to buy this. And he's not really interested in you doing a whole bunch of other stuff. He wants you to buy. So all of the buttons are bright and shiny and very clear on what's going to happen when you click on it. And you go from there. So you got a job to do. You got these things, yes, I know this. I do not understand ratchets. They make me they make me want to pull my hair out. And when they get the little twist, yeah, so are you telling me that I can use regular rope and then your little knot doodad, your tie down thing, and it's gonna save me time and also frustration? Yes, and it's safe and reliable, amazing. And if you've ever gone rock climbing, that makes total sense. Okay, so yeah, look at how clear and concise this is. Is he taking you to all these different places? Nope. Look at this, shop now, shop now, shop now. He's selling the same thing, people. He's selling the same thing, but he's giving you different examples of how well it works. So this is his version of, hey, look how easy it is. 1, 2, 3. No, no, no. Let me give you 5 different examples of the exact same tool in use to give you the 4,000 different ways that you could potentially use this. Probably made in the USA. That's totally going to work for people. And check out his navigation at the bottom. Kitchen sink, full of cool stuff, but it's not bogging down his primary navigation at the top. So again, I mean, maybe this is beautiful. It probably, if you're a dude who loves hunting and fishing and tying down utility vehicles, or you're like me and you're a nerd and you love to have tools and things like that around, maybe this is considered beautiful, but this one certainly is beautiful. And this one here is both beautiful and functional. So think about your own site and audit your own work. Is it clear and concise? Is your navigation free of busy, distracting content that doesn't get the job done? What is the goal of your website and who are you talking to? And if it goes without saying, but if you're not clear on who your ideal client is, then your web copy is going to be a challenge for you, and it's going to be a challenge for your ideal client to actually resonate with whatever it is that you're saying. So as always, do that prep work before you get started on redesigning, relaunching, building a new site, and all of those good things. As always, I hope this has been valuable, and if you have any questions or we can be of any service, feel free to reach out and let us know. Thank you so much.